Hello everyone, in today's video I'm going to be showing you guys some ways that I create fake white watercolor flowers when I am working in my art journal. Now first off, what I do is I always grab a stone with me, and I have one on me, but the quickest way to go about creating these flowers is honestly to grab your favorite color, like I'm doing right now on screen, which I'm grabbing some bright pink, and I'm going to mute it down a little with some sepia, and then I'm going to add a lot of water so it's quite transparent, but then I'm going to mix in some gouache, and it's going to be white Winsor & Newton designer gouache. So the difference between traditional gouache and before I'm using these flowers as my references because I'm obsessed with anemones. I can't say the name of the flower. So anyways, back to mixing your colors. The difference between using traditional gouache and acrylic gouache is the fact that acrylic, it dries and it can't be re-wet, but it's always nice to have some traditional style gouache on hand because it can be re-wet. So it's good to have like a little glob on your watercolor palette. So if you ever wanted to create a pastel color, you could do that. Now the first steps for creating flowers I like to do, at least for these flowers, is to start with the center base of it. So I put the yellow down, but now I'm using that pastel muted pink. Keep in mind that for the purpose of recording this video, I did create the colors to be a little bit more deeper, just so it would pick up on camera. If you are doing this yourself and working in your art journal and exploring flowers and just painting white, you'll want to actually have it more diluted. So you'll want to use more water and have it less pigmented. So it's more of a thinner consistency, so more watery. That's basically the only way I can do it. And next, I'm going to add a little bit of gray into it just to give it some depth because I felt like doing that at the time. It also creates kind of a different characterization for your leaves and petals and things like that, depending on what you're doing, to mix in some colors as you go. And then you can see how they blend and flow into one another. It just makes watercolors a little bit more interesting, I find. Alrighty, so there are a lot of things that you can do for creating your whitish flowers. But one of the things that you'll want to do actually is, once you've got your flower base down, is start to build the foliage around it, or whatever you're going to be putting in its area to separate it from the background. And what I'm doing right now is putting in the base areas for another flower that I'm going to show you, where you can do, again, kind of like a white alternative to creating white flowers. But in the meantime, I'm going to start adding in some of the greenery, the leaves that can help divide your painting from the paper. And when I say divide and add separation, it's because when you're creating the illusion of a white watercolor flower, you want to have something dark around it. By having dark leaves or other dark flowers, for example, you're showing the viewer that this is the light zone, not just white paper. And when you're doing the leaves, your foliage, play with shapes, play with different types of greenery, put in different colors if you wanted to. I think it's fun to just play and experiment with different forms of leaves, and you can mix your colors on your palette, you can mix them on the paper. It'll create a more dynamic image either way. For example, as you can see, I have really long, thick ones, but then also these little short round ones. And I like to think of the little round ones kind of as like the silver dollar eucalyptus type things. Is it called a silver dollar? I don't think that's right. The silver eucalyptus, where they're the big petals and they droop. Now, on to the next way that you can do white flowers, and that is to create a gray color. And by creating gray, you want to do a few different types of mixes. So one way you can do it is by mixing in blue with kind of an orangey red or a brown, like an orangey brown. And if you start mixing them in together, you eventually will get a gray color. Right here, I've mixed in a indigo blue with a maroon red and a little bit of sepia to just really deepen it out, but also I'm keeping it pretty dark so you can see it on camera better. And then you just lay it out and put it down onto the paper. The type of flowers that I'm painting right now are kind of like little wildflowers. They were in the bouquet I got from Blooms Fresh. They were the ones that were just so beautiful. They lasted so long too, which I found to be so amazing about these flowers, is that they had a long lifespan and they reminded me of spring because they were the type of flowers that you would see out in nature. One thing that I also like to do that I'm just doing right now when I'm playing around with creating watercolor flowers and just basically having fun in my art journal is just adding in some details. And I know this seems like a weird thing to do right now because I have another little trick that I'm going to show you, and it's going to involve some gouache again, but because I'm going to cover it, basically. I'm covering this. But go in there, play with it, add lines and details, dots, whatever you want to do, and give those petals a little bit of personality if you like. These kind of details are going to show up again. So as I said, I do have another little trick up the sleeve that I like to do to create the white flowers, but because it's this nifty little trick using gouache, you can still sort of see these details underneath, which is why I put them down. Next up, you want to build the center of your flowers. Kind of give them a little bit more darkness, more detail, more depth, and then go back in and start adding some stuff as well to the foliage, your greenery. At this stage of the game, once I'm waiting for all my whites to kind of just really dry as best as they can, I'm going to start filling out the background with other colors, darker greens, some detailing that I'm going to be doing. Really, you just want to have fun, experiment, find your own way to express while you're creating for your Healing with Art time. It can be simply by adding small details like line work or dots. Like, they don't have to be traditional markings for your flowers and your leaves like you see a lot of people doing, where they put like a center line because the leaves have veins. You don't have to do that. Right now, the center of the little white flowers are getting some loving right now. I'm just making them a little bit darker by adding in some orange there. And when I say putting in a center line into your leaves, it's this kind of detailing. You don't have to do it. I did it just because I felt like it. And if you feel like it, you can too. I feel awkward, guys, telling you step-by-step instructions on what I'm doing every minute of the way of this painting. I don't know why. I think it's because it's just like getting into the flow of doing instructional videos, because I want to definitely do more of these for you so you can see like little tips, tricks, and ways that you can learn to expand your art and your creativity as you're doing your healing with art time. Because I understand the struggle of not really feeling like you know what you're doing. I understand that it can be intimidating sometimes and you might not know how to do something and you want to do something. You know what I'm saying? Do you catch what I'm throwing out there? What I'm doing right now is adding some more dark color greenery to the background to really just add in a change to it. So you want to start with kind of your medium tones and then start deepening them out so they're much darker. And that's what I've been doing right now with the dark blues. I've been feeling blue for a really long time for greenery. Do you guys have certain colors that you gravitate towards, or are you more in the I want to stick true to life and only use green leaves? And don't be afraid to layer too. When using watercolors, it's kind of fun to layer watercolor on top of one another, because with watercolor being a transparent medium, you can still kind of see what was underneath it, which gives it an interesting little eyepiece to look at once you're done. Right now, I am just adding in some smaller details just to really give it some more oomph before I get to the stage where I'm going to, where I'm going to cheat a little. So what you can do is use watercolor, white watercolor, or white traditional gouache, or as I'm doing right now is I'm using acrylic white gouache. And what's great about this one right here from Liquitex is that I find that this white is not very opaque. It claims to be opaque, but I find it to be quite transparent. And when you want an opaque white, that's annoying. But when you want a transparent white, it's perfect. And by using this technique to like really just cheat a little by creating your white flowers, it adds texture as well, because you can lay down the paint thick or in different layering or using brushes that aren't smooth or rough brushes, and then you get detailing on top. And I know I am, like I said, I was going to paint over the line work that I was just putting down, but you'll see that because this paint is semi-transparent, you can still see those detailing through the white. This isn't a traditional way to go about creating white flowers. The little gray ones that you see, because they're gray for you guys because I really did put in a lot of pigment there, but the little white ones that are floating around, that's more of a traditional way to do watercolors, but this is a fun, non-traditional watercolor technique to create interesting white flowers. Okay. So we are going to reach the end of the video soon. I'm hoping this video was helpful for you guys with my little, what's the word I'm looking for? My little talk through as I kind of go through everything that I was doing step by step. Are there any other type of instructional videos or topics you'd like me to show you how to do? While I was on Instagram and sharing my previous piece of work, which I posted this week for the Healing with Art time lapse that I do, so taking time to relax with an art time lapse, I had posted that photo, that painting, to Instagram and asked my followers if they wanted how I did this, like a little insight into my tricks on creating fake watercolor white flowers. And you guys said yes on there. And if you are interested in, taking part in those type of polls or anything, again, you could always let me know in a comment section of the video on YouTube, but you could also just head over to Instagram and follow me at leahevergreenart, and you can get everything there as well and take part in that kind of stuff. Because I am interested in knowing what you guys want to learn and helping you guys on this journey through healing with art. If you do attempt to do something like this, like by using more of a mixed media approach to creating white watercolor flowers, let me know. Tag me on Instagram, just let me know if you're having fun creating. All right, so we are definitely going to hit the end of the video now. So I just want to say thank you so much for being a part of this community. If you have any comments or questions, leave it in the comment section below. I will get back to you as soon as possible. And until next time, stay magical.